If you've never had your value measured in spreadsheet cells and grocery receipts, count yourself lucky. I was 16 when my parents, Donna and Mark Hendricks, sat me down and explained, with the delicacy of an eviction notice, that I was too expensive to feed. Not metaphorically. Not some offhand joke during dinner. I mean, I was literally costing them more than they thought I was worth. It started subtly. At first, it was weird commentary. My dad would clap his hands after dinner and go, "Great meal. Came out to $2.43 a plate," like he was announcing stock dividends. Mom would immediately follow with, "That is, unless someone took seconds," and her eyes would lock on me like she'd caught me siphoning gas. Meanwhile, my older brother Garrett was getting $80 tubs of protein powder and a new pair of cleats every 6 weeks. Because he had potential. Apparently. He was the golden boy with calves my parents admired like Renaissance art. I was the line item messing up their budget forecast. And then came the spreadsheet. I wasn't snooping. It was sitting right there on the kitchen counter next to a wine glass and a crusty calculator. Color-coded. Titled, Hendricks Household Q2 Financial Outlook. Under Outflows, it listed groceries, $620. Garrett, supplements, gear, gym, $180. Mason, school supplies, food, $225, circled in red with the words, "Can this be reduced?" Not even kidding. They wanted to reduce me. Like I was a line of cable channels they didn't watch enough. It was almost funny. Until it wasn't. I laughed about it with Josh, my best friend, during lunch the next day. "Guess I'm a financial liability," I joked. He laughed too. We both thought that's where it would end. We were wrong. A week later, my mom started texting his mom, Wendy, like they were planning some secret handoff. "Mason's always raving about your meals. He must feel so at home," smiling face with halo. "You really have a way with teens. Wish I had that gift sometimes. Let me know if he's ever in the way. But you're a lifesaver. Red heart." Josh showed me the text and said, "Dude, is your mom trying to donate you?" I laughed. Until I got home that Thursday night. My parents were waiting at the table like two underpaid HR reps who'd drawn the short straw. Dad cleared his throat. "Sit down, Mason. We've been doing some thinking." Yup. Never a great opener. Mom folded her hands and gave me the face she used when someone used too much hot water. "We love you," she said. "But things are tight. Your expenses, your appetite, your lifestyle." My lifestyle? I blinked. I microwaved leftovers and walked to school. "We just feel," Dad cut in, "that it might be better, temporary of course, if you stayed somewhere else. Just until we stabilize." They handed me a duffel bag. Already packed. 3 shirts, a pair of jeans, deodorant, and I kid you not, the same granola bar my mom once scolded me for touching. "You're sending me to Josh's?" I asked, still stuck between disbelief and comedy. "You love it there," Mom said brightly, like I'd won a sleepover sweepstakes. "They didn't even offer a ride. Just dropped a pin and said, 'You know the way.'" It was raining. Because of course it was. I walked the 2 miles in wet sneakers, carrying the duffel bag like a scarlet letter. Wendy opened the door and froze. Then her eyes softened, and without asking a single question, she stepped aside and said, "You hungry, sweetheart?" I nodded. Quietly. She made spaghetti with garlic bread. Gave me a real plate. Poured me Sprite in a glass, with ice. She even handed me a blanket like I was something valuable. That was the first night I realized, home isn't who raised you. Sometimes it's who receives you, without a spreadsheet. Living at someone else's house sounds like a dream when you're a kid. Sleepovers? Unlimited snacks? No parents breathing down your neck about chores or GPA. Yeah, that version doesn't include the part where you arrive with a duffel bag, 0 warning, and a freshly printed label across your forehead. Temporarily unclaimed. Josh's mom, Wendy, didn't treat me like that. Not once. But I felt it anyway. The first morning, she made pancakes. Real ones. Not frozen cardboard circles heated in passive-aggressive silence. She poured syrup, slid the plate in front of me, and said, "I made extra. Thought you might be hungry." I blinked. Nobody at the Hendricks house ever thought I might be hungry. At best, they tolerated it. Josh sat across from me, eating like this was any other Saturday, except I now lived in his guest room. "You want orange juice?" he asked mid-bite. I nodded slowly. "Do I have to Venmo you or something?" He choked on his laugh. "Dude. No. But I meant it. I didn't know how to just exist somewhere without paying for it emotionally." Wendy set a glass down beside me and touched my shoulder gently. "You're not a burden, Mason. Your family while you're here. No one's counting." She said that last part so casually, but it almost cracked me open. Because my own family was counting. Literally. Down to the cent. The days that followed felt strange. Not bad. Just disorienting. Wendy actually asked me how my day was. Not as a formality, but like she wanted the real answer. She folded my laundry. Laughed at my dumb jokes. Bought me my own toothbrush without making it feel like a charity donation. But at night, when everything got quiet, my brain would go into reruns. Was it really that easy for them? Just toss me out? Did they even miss me? Nah. Probably too busy updating the spreadsheet. On my third night, Josh found me scrolling Zillow on my phone. "Looking for a place already?" he joked. "Just trying to figure out how much it'd cost to disappear." He set down his controller. "You're not disappearing. You're regrouping." He said it like it was a game plan. I laughed, but a tiny part of me clung to that phrasing. Regrouping. Maybe this was an exile. Maybe it was an accidental second chance. Still, the silence from my parents was loud. No check-ins. No texts. No, how's school? Or did you get your history grade up? Nothing. Not even Garrett. My older brother, who once made me walk 2 miles in the rain to bring him his AirPods, had apparently ghosted me. A week in, Wendy sat down with me after dinner. "Have your parents reached out?" she asked gently. I shook my head. "Not even a 'we miss your face'." She sighed. "Do you want me to call them?" The truth? I didn't know what I wanted. Maybe just to be wanted. But all I said was, "Nah. They're probably busy. Dad's got a spreadsheet to romance." Wendy snorted, and for the first time, I realized I could still laugh. I wasn't broken. Just rerouted. A few nights later, Josh and I were sitting in the garage, messing with his busted speaker system. I was rewiring something with way too much confidence for a 16-year-old when he looked up and said, "You know, maybe this is the best thing that could have happened to you." I paused. "Getting booted from my house and dropped off like an Amazon return?" He shrugged. "I mean, yeah. But like, now you can build something without their noise." That idea stuck with me. Build something. Without the noise. 3 weeks after the Hendricks eviction, yes, that's what I'd started calling it in my head, I landed a job at a local hardware store called Nail Zone. It smelled like WD-40, sadness, and splinters, but they paid in real money and didn't ask questions about why I wasn't living at home. "You ever use a pallet jack before?" the manager, Carl, asked during my interview, which lasted 5 minutes and involved zero eye contact. "Nope," I said. "You'll figure it out." And just like that, I was hired. Minimum wage, 20 hours a week, plus a 10% employee discount I couldn't use because I wasn't trying to redecorate my trauma. But it felt good. Not glamorous. Not life-changing. But stable. Like putting one brick down after everything else had collapsed. Wendy insisted I keep half my pay and save the other half in a glass jar she labeled the exit fund. I never asked her to, but she said, "Just in case you ever want a place that's yours." That jar became sacred. I didn't touch it, even when I wanted fries after work or new shoes that didn't squeak like betrayal. Every time I dropped in a crumpled bill, I felt a little more possible. One afternoon, about a month in, I saw my mom at the grocery store. It was a random Tuesday. I'd gone to grab peanut butter for Wendy, crunchy, the only correct choice, and boom. A wild Donna Hendricks appeared in aisle 5, inspecting avocados like she wasn't the reason I now counted pennies by the checkout. We locked eyes. She blinked first. Mason, she said like she hadn't offloaded me like a damaged rental. Hey, I replied, and immediately regretted not going with something colder, like, do I know you? Or, we no longer carry that model. She stepped forward. You look taller. I work in a hardware store now, I said. I lift things. Awkward silence. I've been meaning to call, she added. I raised a brow. Your phone broke? She flinched. Don't be like that. You want me to be grateful? I want you to understand that things are complicated. There it was. The classic parent line. Things are always complicated when they don't want to apologize. I understand, I said. I cost $225 a month, right? That's what the spreadsheet said. Her face paled. You found that? Found it. Circled in red and everything. I was practically a clearance item. She opened her mouth to respond but didn't. Just stood there, holding an avocado like it could shield her from accountability. I took a deep breath. Don't worry. I'm not here to cause a scene. Just grabbing peanut butter for someone who feeds me without a calculator. She looked like she wanted to say something, an apology maybe, or at least a half-hearted, "We miss you." But instead she nodded, turned, and walked away. I didn't chase her. Didn't check if she looked back. Didn't care. I went back to Wendy's that night and told her about it. She didn't say much. Just nodded, handed me a fork, and said, "Lasagna's hot. Dig in before it gets sad." There was no speech. No life lesson. Just warm food. A real home. And a peanut butter jar slowly filling with quiet revenge. It had been nearly 2 months since I was evicted from the Hendricks household, like an item removed from a shared Netflix account. By then I had routines. Work. Homework. Heating up leftovers at Wendy's like a semi-functioning adult. Josh yelling at me to stop using all the hot water. It wasn't glamorous, but it was mine. Then one Sunday afternoon, I came home from a shift at Nailzone and found him in the driveway. Garrett. Leaning against his overly polished car like the opening act of a teen drama, arms crossed, sunglasses on, and that signature smirk I hadn't missed. He pushed off the car like he was glad to see me. I wasn't. "Wow," I said. "You do know where I live?" "Hey man," he said casually. "You look taller." "Yeah, I grow better when I'm not being rationed." He winced, then recovered quickly. "Mind if we talk?" "I mean, technically you're already doing it." He glanced toward the front door like Wendy might be eavesdropping. "It's about Mom and Dad." Of course it was. "They sent you?" He nodded. "They've been thinking. Maybe it's time you came home." I laughed. The real, involuntary kind. "You mean the place where I cost too much to feed? That home? Look, it was a rough patch. Dad was stressed. Mom didn't mean for it to feel like. They packed my bag without telling me," I said. "Garrett. They gave me a granola bar like it was severance pay." He didn't argue. Just shoved his hands in his pockets and mumbled. "They want to make it right. No, they want something. Spill it." He sighed like I was ruining the vibe. "They're refinancing the mortgage. Dad's credit isn't great. They need a cosigner." And there it was. Ah. So I'm not a drain anymore, I'm a resource. "It's just paperwork," he said quickly. "Doesn't mean you'll have to pay anything." I stared at him for a long moment. You know what's wild, Garrett? I got tossed out like expired yogurt. Not a single check-in. Not even a text. And now I'm the guy who can help fix their financial mess? They said you're the only one who's dependable. I tilted my head. They said that? He nodded. Dad said you've always been smart with money. Even Wendy said you're working hard. Oh, so now I'm reliable. Because I have a job and a checking account. Garrett shifted. Come on, man. Just talk to them. At least hear them out. You want to know what the last thing Mom said to me was? He stayed quiet. I pulled out the wrinkled receipt I kept in my wallet like a bitter souvenir. I'd found it in the duffel bag the night they kicked me out. It listed a single item, Granola bars $3.29. She told me I was costing too much. Then gave me this like I should be grateful. Garrett took it and squinted. Seriously? Tell them I'm still waiting to be reimbursed. I walked past him, opened the front door, then turned back. And Garrett? He looked up. Tell them next time they need a co-signer, maybe don't cut the one responsible kid out of the family budget. I shut the door. Inside, Josh was sitting on the stairs with a slice of pizza and a front row seat. That was cold. Nah, I said, dropping my backpack. That was polite. I edited out the rage. He handed me a slice. Well, in that case, cheers to financial independence. I tapped crust with him, sat down, and exhaled. Another 20 went into the peanut butter jar that night, right next to the receipt. It started with a group text. Which was wild, because I didn't even know I was still in the family group chat. Last I checked, it had been renamed Hendrix Home Base. And I was pretty sure they soft removed me the same day they soft removed me from the actual home. But suddenly, there it was, blinking at me during lunch break at Nailzone. We'd like to talk. All of us. Come by Sunday for dinner. It's time to reconnect. Followed by a heart emoji. A heart emoji. No context. No. Sorry. Just a casual invite to the same table where they once counted my meatloaf portions like inventory. I stared at the screen for a full minute. Josh peeked over my shoulder. Is that from your mom? I nodded. She wants me to come over Sunday. Says they want to reconnect? He snorted. Reconnect? Like Wi-Fi? I think I'm the unpaid data plan. Sunday came faster than I wanted it to. And despite every logical reason to ignore them, I went. Not because I forgave them, but because I wanted to see them. To make sure I wasn't crazy. That they were, in fact, as shameless as they sounded. When I pulled up to the Hendricks house, still called it that, Garrett's car was in the driveway. The porch light was on even though it was broad daylight. Probably for ambience. I stepped inside without knocking. Mom was in the kitchen, plating a roast chicken like this was Thanksgiving and not a corporate apology meeting. Dad was at the table with a printout. Yes. A literal printout. Mason, he said, smiling like nothing had happened. Glad you could make it. Would have brought a spreadsheet, I said, but I figured you had that covered. Garrett gave me a half-hearted sup from his seat. We sat down. Mom poured iced tea. I didn't drink it. Your father and I have been reflecting, she said. Didn't know you had that app installed. She ignored the jab. We realize now that things may have come off the wrong way. You mean kicking me out because I was too expensive? It was never about you. Dad cut in. It was the pressure. The economy. Groceries were insane. You kicked me out over granola bars, I said flatly. Silence. Then Garrett, of all people, jumped in. Look, maybe it was harsh. But we're here now. Let's reset. I looked at the roast. The folded napkins. The stupid little place cards like this was some Hallmark redemption arc. Then I looked at the printout Dad had brought. What's that? He hesitated. It's the loan paperwork. Just, in case you're open to it. So dinner was a setup. No, Mom said quickly. We wanted to talk. And yes, maybe discuss what the future looks like. As a family. I leaned back in the chair, the same one that used to creak whenever I reached for seconds. You don't want a family. You want a co-signer. Mason, Dad said. We raised you. No. You managed me. Garrett got raised. He looked away. I stood up. Napkin still folded. Glass untouched. Let me be clear, I said. There's no reconnection dinner. No magical reset. You made choices. So did I. Then I pulled a copy of my own from my backpack. It was a scanned, high-res printout of the original grocery receipt. Laminated. Annotated in red pen. Since we're trading paperwork, I figured I'd bring mine too. Mom stared at it like it might explode. Tell you what, I said. When this gets paid back, with interest, Maybe I'll consider a conversation. I walked out, letting the front door shut behind me with a satisfying click. A week after the roast chicken peace treaty failed to secure a signature, I figured my family had given up. Silence had returned, which, in the Hendricks household, never meant peace. It meant plotting. And right on cue, during my lunch break at Nail Zone, Garrett showed up again. This time, dressed like a loan officer. Polo shirt, polished loafers, clipboard in hand, the full corporate cosplay. All that was missing was a Bluetooth headset and an overinflated sense of importance. "What's this?" I asked, eyeing the folder. "Is this a hostage negotiation or a coupon seminar?" He grinned. "I'm here on behalf of our parents. Should I be flattered or check my credit score?" He gestured toward the parking lot. "Can we talk?" "Privately." We stepped outside, behind the store. Garrett leaned against the wall like he thought he was starring in some Netflix drama called The Responsible Son. "They're gonna lose the house," he said. I blinked. "Okay?" Garrett squinted. "Okay? That's your reaction? Should I pretend to faint? You think I forgot who kicked me out of that house?" He shifted. "Look, they're desperate. If you'd just co-sign." "No. You didn't even let me finish." "Still no." He sighed. "Mason, come on. You're working now. Saving money. You're in a good place." "Exactly. I work to be in a good place. They abandoned me to get theirs." Garrett ran a hand through his hair. "Mom's been crying. Dad's stressed. They're both a mess." "Oh no," I said flatly. "Anyway." His tone sharpened. "You're being cold." "No. I'm being careful. You're confusing that with cruelty because for once I'm not handing over what's mine." He hesitated. "Then maybe you'll care about this." He pulled a folded paper from the folder and handed it to me. It was a screenshot. A post from my private Instagram, a close-up of my peanut butter jar, half filled with crumpled bills. Caption: "Revenge fund coming along nicely." I stared at it. "You stalked my Instagram? Wendy follows you." She thought it was cute. She shared it with Mom. I laughed. "And what, now it's evidence? You gonna subpoena my memes too? They feel like you're turning people against them. Making them look bad." "Garrett," I said slowly, "they left me with a $3 granola bar and a blanket. I'm being polite. They're your parents." "No. They're just two adults who raised one son and offloaded the other like surplus inventory." His jaw clenched. "If this gets around, they could lose more than the house. Reputation matters." "Oh, so now it's not about feelings. It's about image." He looked away. I stepped closer. "You really came here to warn me to stop talking?" "Just keep it in the family." I stared at him for a long beat. They didn't. Garrett went quiet. I took the folder from his hands, flipped through the paperwork, and slowly tore the Instagram screenshot in half. Then again. Then again. "You can tell them," I said. "If they're worried about appearances, maybe they shouldn't have tossed their kid out like expired leftovers." He grabbed the pieces, tried to shove them back in the folder, and walked off without another word. I stood there for a while, feeling the weight of it. It wasn't just the threat. It was the insult that me telling the truth was somehow worse than them doing it. That night, Josh found me sitting on the porch with the peanut butter jar in my lap. I hadn't added anything yet, just staring at it. "You good?" he asked. I shrugged. "They tried blackmail." Josh blinked. "Like, actual blackmail?" I handed him the last remaining scrap of the screenshot. "Apparently my sarcasm is legally actionable now." He sat down beside me. "So, what now?" "I'm gonna do what they never did," I said. "I'm gonna keep building. Quietly. Honestly. No lies. No guilt trips. Just me." Josh smiled. "That's cool. But I still say we celebrate." "With what?" "Fries. Large ones. And a milkshake. Because you, my friend, just passed the final boss of family gaslighting." We stood. And that night, I dropped a fresh 50 in the jar, not because I needed revenge. Because I was almost free. 3 weeks passed. No calls. No threats. No fresh guilt and gift wrap. I kept my head down, not to hide, but because I had things to build. My hours at Nail Zone increased, and even Carl, the cranky boss who once confused me with a high school intern, started calling me by name instead of kid or not Greg. Then one Tuesday, he cornered me near the caulking aisle and grunted, "You ever consider being assistant manager?" I blinked. Is that a compliment or a punishment? He rolled his eyes. Means I trust you. You're the only one here who shows up on time and doesn't steal drill bits. It wasn't a dramatic moment. No balloons or applause. Just a dusty key on a lanyard and $2 extra an hour. But for me, it meant everything. It meant progress. That night, Wendy threw me a promotion dinner, lasagna, garlic bread, and a bottle of sparkling cider with a label that said "You did it, kid." Josh clinked his glass against mine and toasted. To our local nail king. I laughed so hard I almost choked on a breadstick. But underneath it all, I felt something rare. I felt seen. Later, I sat on the porch alone, the peanut butter jar beside me, now stuffed with over $4,000 in bills, rolled and rubber-banded like little war trophies. Every dollar earned. Every shift survived. Every refusal to go back. Then, on Friday, I found a letter in the mailbox. No stamp. No return address. Inside, a thick ivory paper, typed in my mom's usual font, like she'd used the same settings she once picked for PTA newsletters. Dear Mason, we've been thinking about everything. We realize now how much pain we caused. We never meant to hurt you. We just didn't know how to handle everything. The refinance didn't go through. We're selling the house. If there's any way you can help us, financially or otherwise, we'd be forever grateful. With love, Mom and Dad. I read it twice. It wasn't an apology. It was a polished ask. No specifics. No, we were wrong to leave you. Just vague regret and a request for assistance dressed like reconciliation. Josh found me sitting on the porch again that night. He saw the envelope, sighed, and said, "Let me guess, they've reached the fundraising phase? House is up for sale." He winced. Yikes. So what are you gonna do? I didn't answer. I just pulled out a notepad and started writing. Pen to paper. Old school. Dear Mom and Dad. Thank you for the letter. I know selling the house must be hard. You might consider a financial advisor. They're good with situations like this. As for helping, I already gave you what I had. You just didn't like the form it came in. Good luck with the sale. Mason. I didn't sign it. Love. I didn't add a heart. I didn't include a single dollar. I sealed the envelope and dropped it off the next morning. No confrontation. No drama. Just a quiet return to sender, with a spine. Then Wendy took me to the bank. We opened my first real account. She stood beside me while I handed the teller my jar like it was sacred. $4,315. 87. I'd counted, but hearing it read aloud by someone else made it feel real. Wendy smiled. Told you this would come in handy. More than you know, I said. She leaned over and whispered, Next jar's going to say first apartment, isn't it? I grinned. No. It's going to say mine. And for the first time in years, the idea of a future didn't feel heavy. It felt earned. A few days after I mailed the letter, I got a call from an unknown number. Not blocked. Just unfamiliar. I hesitated, thumb hovering over decline, then answered. Hello? Silence. Then her voice. Mason. It was my mom. Soft. Hesitant. Like she wasn't sure I'd pick up, or worse, like she knew I had every right not to. I got your letter, she said. Good, I replied. Then I won't repeat it. She sniffled. You really won't help? Not even a little? I did help, I said. Years ago. You just didn't recognize it. Or me. Mason, you don't know what it's like to feel abandoned. That one almost made me laugh. But I didn't. I let the pause sit heavy between us before answering. No. I know exactly what that feels like. The difference is, I got over it without asking for someone else's checkbook. Click. She hung up. That was the last time I heard from her. The next day, Josh sent me a real estate listing. The Hendricks house was officially online. 5 bedrooms, 2 baths, overly bright photos taken with a wide-angle lens trying to stretch the truth. The caption said, "Charming family home, full of potential." I read it twice. Then saved the listing in a folder on my desktop labeled History, Read Only. The following month, Wendy introduced me to a contractor friend named Claire. She needed someone sharp, dependable, and good with logistics. Wendy said, "I know just the guy." So I started apprenticing on weekends. Learning things. Measuring. Carrying. Planning. And saving more than I ever had before. One day after a job site visit, Claire asked, "You ever think about buying property?" "Once," I said. "But back then, I couldn't even afford groceries." She laughed. "Well, funny thing about growth, sometimes it sneaks up on you." That night, I scrolled through old photos. I found one from my second week at Wendy's, me, blurry in the background, holding up the peanut butter jar like it was a trophy. In the front, Josh had written on a sticky note, "Phase 1 Escape." I snapped a fresh photo of the laminated receipt. Granola bars $3.29. This time, I posted it with a caption. "They gave me a granola bar. I gave myself everything else." I didn't need revenge. Just a memory of what I'd survived, and a reminder that the receipt always comes back.